Hello, friends. I am Chevee. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? I hope it's fantastic. Everything here is great. Did you have a good weekend? Did you do anything exciting this weekend? I got to go. M's dad has been building a truck. Um, um, it's like a 40-something international cab that he set on a Dakota frame. He's been building it for a while, and he wanted to fire it up for the first time this weekend, so I went up and helped make sure everything was in order. I mean, I used to be a Chrysler mechanic, so we got to do that. And then I got to work this weekend, and I think I'm finally. Well, I mean, you saw the title. I think I'm ready to tell you about the project that I've been working on the side. And I'm it's not. This isn't. The secrecy hasn't had anything to do with the client or anything like that. It's just a matter of I didn't know how this was going to work into my life. I didn't know if it was going to work into my life and how far we would take it. But we've come, it's been a month now. I think I have a pretty good idea of how this is going to work for me. And so the other reason I'm going to tell you about it now is because I can actually point you to something that I have done. And that's because this weekend a new release was built, and it includes a bunch of my code. So the project that I'm working on is called Component Studio. It is from the same team that created the Game Crafter, and specifically JT. JT is a extremely brilliant person, software developer for the last 30 years or something, and seems like he doesn't ever sleep, and he constantly has new brilliant ideas and he tries them out. And so Component Studio spun out of the Game Crafter kind of as a way to help people build components, thus the name, to then print at the Game Crafter. Now, the tool is useful for way more than just using it at the Game Crafter. You can actually, you know, the concept of this tool is you design your cards or your boards or your player aids or whatever in a spreadsheet, and then you use that spreadsheet to actually build the physical printed components, meaning that you can programmatically design your cards, position stuff on the cards, do the layouts of the cards, all that stuff programmatically without having to use well, you probably still have to use a graphics editor of some kind for icons and that sort of stuff, but you can do inline text with icons. You can do, I mean, it does amazing stuff. And then you can export it. You can export individual images. You can export card sheets if you're doing Tabletop Simulator. You can export printable sheets. You can export it to the Game Crafter and order a copy. It does all kinds of amazing stuff. It's a very powerful piece of software. And it's got a pretty strong user base. So JT hired me. What happened was he put out a call on social media in the summer saying he wanted somebody. And I almost responded to it. I've known JT now for well over a decade, I think. At the beginning of, way back before the Game Crafter, I was ordering printed cards from places like Cow Cow or Arts Cow and Cow Cow, and there was a couple other like places that would do custom poker decks. JT came along and said, "Why don't we do custom everything?" And so I've been ordering stuff from the Game Crafter now for a decade, like literally a decade. And I've been to Madison, where the Game Crafter is, for Proto Spiel there a couple of times, I think. Stayed with my friend Brett, and then I physically met JT there, and we hung out a few times and talked. So we've been friendly, and I stop at his booth every year at Gen Con, and, we've known each other for a long time. And I thought he was somebody I was very inspired by. And I thought it would be great to work with him. And when he put this call out on social media, I almost responded to it. I was like, man, I would really love to do this. I would really love to work with him. I would really love to work with his technology, learn stuff. But I did not qualify. I looked at the list of qualifications, and it wasn't for me. So I didn't respond. I talked to him at Gen Con this year, and I mentioned the fact that I almost, he said, I don't know if you know, we've been expanding. He's like, I have another great idea. that I'm getting ready to start on, and so I had to hire somebody. And I said, "Cool." I said, "Yeah, I almost responded to that." And he goes, "You did? Why didn't you?" And I was like, "Because I don't have any knowledge of your technology stack at all." And he told me that the person that he had hired this summer basically had been ghosting him for the last couple weeks, and he wasn't sure the person still worked with him. He said, "If you're seriously about this, like, we might talk in the future." He said, "Are you intelligent and curious and willing to learn?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, like that's my favorite part of software design and software development." And he was like, "Then you're fine. Like, I think we could do this." So a couple weeks go by, and he contacts me and says, "This person is gone." He's like, are you still interested?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm very interested. I talked it over with M, and I said, I want to talk and see." And she said, "Yeah, I think you should." So we had a conversation about, what this is entailing. This is a part-time thing, 10 to 20 hours a week, whatever I can manage, basically, to do improvements, bug fixes, all that sort of stuff. The hourly wage was perfectly fine. In fact, it's more... technically more than I make at my current position. And yeah, I said, "Sure, let's do it. Let's give it a shot." And it's been great. It's been a really wonderful learning experience, not only for the technology that we're using. The site is built on Vue.js, which is a JavaScript framework, and a backend that was developed by JT for the last, I don't know, 20 years or something, called Wing. And it's a Perl-based backend that it's actually crazy impressively powerful. And I'm entirely working on front-end stuff right now. He wants me to take over some of the server stuff later, but that's later. Right now, I'm just doing feature requests, bug fixes, that sort of stuff. And within the first week, I'd already made impact. I'd already dug through his issue tickets, found a couple of things that I was able to identify fixes for. Did a couple of features, and then he handed me a couple more. I did a few features within this last week, and so I'll bundle it all together. Yesterday, a new release came out that included a bunch of my code, and I could say this isn't me jumping up and down saying I did this, and this of this release notes. If you go look at the release notes, that's not what this is about. But I've made an impact within the first month, and that was something that I was extremely nervous about because I've never really contributed to somebody else's project. I mean, internally, yes, me and my coworker, I've contributed to his projects. He's contributed to mine. That's one thing, but somebody else's project on a completely unfamiliar technology stack that just exists on GitHub that I pull and work on. I've never done that sort of thing before, and it's been really rewarding. It's been a really great learning experience. JT is really wonderful to work with. I think we're very similar in the way that we receive, process, and disseminate information, and that means that his teaching style, I've said he's perfect teacher, and he was like, "You're literally the only person who's ever accused me of being a good teacher," because I told him he has patience, and he was like, "Nobody has ever said that about me. In fact, they tell me I have no patience." But he's been a very good, despite our massive knowledge gap, and probably, I was going to say intellect, but probably, I think JT's a few rungs up on me, in the intellect department. He's very good at teaching without talking down, without saying, "Are you an idiot?" He has asked me if I'm an idiot. He's, yeah, but not in a serious kind of manner. It's been a really good working relationship. It's been a really good experience. I'm very much enjoying my time. I haven't been able to get 20 hours in yet. I probably really, if I really wanted to, or if there was a serious thing, I could find 20 hours in my week. But so far, I've been kind of taking it a little bit easy, just finding the flow of how this project works and taking my time working through bugs and trying to solve them. The problem that I got into was in the very beginning, before he even assigned me any tickets and such. I found a bug that I was able to fix, and then the next issue that I took on, I was able to solve pretty quickly, within a couple of days. And then my next issue, which seemed in scope to be smaller than the thing I had just done, took me over a week. And I felt really bad about that because, Time is money, and I'm just burning dollars trying to figure out this problem. As it turns out, it was a fairly big problem. It wasn't as simple as it seemed on the surface. And I got it done, and, I think he's been very happy with the work that I've done. He tells me he is, and he's like, "You just keep going. You're doing great," and that feels great. It does feel good. And he told me yesterday, he's like, "It's time to be proud of yourself." And I was like, "That's something I've struggled with my entire life. I am not good at being proud of myself. I'm not good at looking at, I look at that feature list and I say, all right, I did these X things, and that feels neat, but it's like, okay, there's so much more. Like, what's next? What's next? Like, that's already in the past. I've already congratulated myself for getting those features done. I've already congratulated myself when it works and I jump up and go, because I had that moment. I'm already looking forward to, like, all right, what's the next thing I need to solve? What's the next thing I need to solve? Let's just keep cracking away at this. Instead of praising myself or taking time to reflect and going, all right, I did good there. But I have done good, and I feel really good about it. I have made an impact, and I think, as far as I can foresee, this is going to continue fruitfully for both of us. I hope, because I'm really enjoying it. If you want to check out Component Studio, I urge you to go do so. I think that we have a 3-day free trial. It is a monthly subscription to use the service, but you can sign up for free and try it for a few days and see what all it does. And if you're genuinely curious about the work that I did, we can have a conversation through other media. But I'm not dropping trade secrets or anything like that, obviously. But it's been fun. It's been a really good project. So go check it out. If you have questions, they go in the comments. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends and wonderful people. I really appreciate you. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Today's word you should know to sound smart is obsolescent. It is a noun meaning the state of being no longer useful. Roderick found, to his dismay, that some of the new Maserati models had lapsed into obsolescence almost as soon as they hit the showroom floor. Obsolescence. OBSOLESCENCE. Obsolescence is not a very smart word, is it? I feel like that's a very, very, very common word.